If you want to make a crazy amount of money, if you want to discover your true purpose, and if you want to achieve your own personal level of greatness, the kind of greatness you see in the people you admire, the good news is all three of those things are actually the same conversation. But let's be real. Right now, there's a good chance you're not experiencing any of those three things at the level that you want. And what makes that frustrating is you see other people out there living their best life, and yet over here in your life, it just feels confusing, frustrating, maybe even unfair. In this episode, I'm going to walk you through the exact three-part framework that ties these three concepts together: purpose, greatness, and getting filthy rich in an aligned and ethical way, so that the only thing you'll be asking yourself by the end of this episode is how the hell could it be this simple? Welcome to A Changed Mind. Guys, this is like the power episode. We're going to talk about purpose, money, greatness. They feel like three separate conversations, like overwhelming quests that we have to go after. And it's super confusing because we see other people living their purpose, achieving their greatness, becoming wealthy, and we subconsciously create a it's them versus me sort of separation. And I totally get it. I mean, back in the day, I had 2 homes in foreclosure, a bunch of credit card debt, no money in my bank account, had no idea what I was here to do, and certainly did not feel great. And I remember going down to Miami. I was living in Orlando at the time, looking up at the multi-million-dollar condos, the fancy sports cars, the big watches, the bling bling. Everybody was so damn pretty except David Bayer. And so I sort of went on a quest to figure this thing out. I'm like, look, I don't think that there's something inherently different about everybody else out there. It must just be that I don't understand how this works. Other people might, or maybe they stumbled into it. And here's the good news. There is literally a mathematical relationship between those three outcomes: purpose, greatness, and money. It is not mystical. It is structural. It is predictable. And today I'm going to break down that formula. So I want to start with the first piece, which is purpose. Now, I like to think of purpose, I describe it as a spiritual vision. Spiritual vision is what you came here to do. Now, I am a believer, after having studied this for the last decade and looking across all the different spiritual and wisdom teachings and metaphysics and neuroscience and consciousness theory, that you actually chose the life that you have. Now, you may be saying, Dave, come on, you don't know my life. Why would I choose this? Dave, you don't understand my childhood. Why would anyone choose to go through the abuse, the challenges, the trauma that I went through? What I'm going to suggest is that this is not your first time here, and that you've been living a life after life after life after life, many incarnations, each time learning some things, gaining some soul skills, and then reflecting upon the life you just lived in order to determine what you wanted to become next and what you want to learn next. This is an intelligent system. And so you came here to become something. This is actually the purpose of your life. And when you don't believe you have a purpose, it's why it feels so painful, because it's such a dissonance between how you feel and the reality of the situation. You came here on a mission. So let's look at the mathematics of your mission. Number one, you were born into an environment that is the opposite of what you came here to learn. In other words, if you came here to learn unshakable faith, you were born into an environment where there was a tremendous amount of fear that you experienced. If you came here to learn self-love, you were probably born into an environment where there was a tremendous absence of love for you. Why? Because this is the training ground. This is the resistance training. In order for you to actually develop the spiritual muscle and the capacity to become the thing you came here to be, you have to be born into the absence of it. We all start out weak in the spiritual gym. And the gym instructor, the great gym instructor in the sky, the big G, gives you your training regimen. And so you overcame a bunch of different challenges over the course of your life, and you're still going through them. And every time you overcome the challenge, you solve a deficiency within yourself and you become something more expansive. You know, I have a personal relationship with my higher power today. Some days I forget. Oh yeah, you're still there, God. I got it handled, God. Don't need you. But there was a time where I didn't have a relationship at all with my higher power. How did I come to a place where I created a relationship with my higher power, or allowed my higher power to create a relationship with me? It was from hitting rock bottom. Yeah, I tried to manage my life, and it led to drugs and alcohol and sex addiction. And when I hit bottom, I had nowhere to turn but to look up. And so the challenges that you've been given and are experiencing right now, as you learn to overcome them, you become something more expansive. And those specific challenges are designed according to your unique curriculum. So, you think about what I'm doing today. Here is a teacher, a coaching business going from $0 to $40 million, helping people transform their businesses and transform their mindset. Never thought that I would be doing this, but it's such a natural byproduct of the challenges that I overcome. I found some healing in my 12-step recovery. Then I got into personal growth. I got stuck in personal growth because there were all these great concepts, but I had a hard time integrating them. And so I had this desire to learn how can I integrate and actually become a different person, rewire my brain, and change my reality. Now I'm teaching it to others. It makes perfect sense. Your life makes perfect sense too. Maybe not in this moment, but you are here according to a spiritual mission and a spiritual vision. So your spiritual vision, who you're becoming, is the opposite of the challenges that you've had, the absence that you've had. By overcoming the challenges, you build this spiritual muscle, this quality, this character that allows you to become the person that you came here to be. Now, another aspect of your spiritual vision is not just the challenges, but it's your innate gifts and skills. If I were to sit down with some of your friends and say, like, what makes Jenny unique? What makes Jonathan unique? They'd go, well, this. If you sat down with someone who knows me and says, what makes David unique? He'd say, well, number one, he's incredibly authentic, right? The guy can't tell a lie. Guy talks about his sex addiction to millions of people on YouTube. Authentic, right? Vulnerable, same type of thing. David's very vulnerable. David also has the ability to take complex concepts and distill them down into ways that you can explain to an 11-year-old. I've always been that way. I didn't develop that. I was just articulate. I could communicate effectively. Those three things allow me to be the teacher that I am today. You've got these natural skills and traits, and they're meant to be leveraged in tandem with who you become overcoming your challenges. This is the spiritual vision. So you came here to actually become someone who would do something significant and meaningful. What I believe is that there's a need in the world that you came here to fulfill on. If you actually look at why most of us came here, and if you ask people what their greatest fear is, most people's greatest fear, especially if you're in this conversation, like we're here, right? Having this conversation, you're not some other person out there, God doing God knows what. You're in the real and the right conversation. What I found is that the biggest fear is that you will not achieve your full potential. That scares the shit out of you. It's why you're here. It's why you're learning. It's why you're growing. If you look at what fulfilling potential is, it's actually to achieve something as pledged or promised. That's what a fulfillment is. And potential is the becoming of something greater using latent gifts and skills, meaning hidden gifts and skills. So you came here to do something meaningful, and you promised you would do it that would create benefit in the world utilizing these skills that you would develop over the course of your life. That's why you're here. That's your spiritual vision. So there's some need in the world that wants to be solved or fulfilled, and you came here to fulfill on it. And the process of fulfilling on it is your process of becoming. That's your spiritual vision. Natural skills and talents, overcoming the challenges, and that have touched you in a unique way. I think about the woman who started Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Her daughter was killed by a drunk driver, right? She chose to come in and experience a particular life, as challenging as that may be. I cannot even imagine losing a child or a loved one like that. But the byproduct of that is she developed character, she developed quality, and she birthed into the world Mothers Against Drunk Driving. So if you look at anyone who's ever achieved anything meaningful, we're going to get to greatness here in a moment, it's through the pursuit of their spiritual vision. Something has touched you in your life in a very unique way, right? Entrepreneurship has touched me in a very unique way. My addiction touched me in a very unique way. My ability to recover and change my mind and rewire myself and re-engineer my reality was a byproduct of that. And now I teach high performers and entrepreneurs how to do that. Do you see how it makes sense? You can kind of look backwards and see the clues. So this is your spiritual vision. Every single person has one, and you do too. You may not know what it is yet, and that's okay. Just know you have one. Hey, it's David. Quick announcement before we get back to your episode. Our annual event, the Powerful Living Experience, is coming up. There's a link in the show notes, or you can visit powerfullivingexperience.com. Check out the video of last year's event. We're going to be bringing together 1,000 impact-driven entrepreneurs, leaders, and game changers to spend 3 days doing what matters most. going really, really deep on identifying the limiting beliefs and subconscious programs that are still preventing you from your full potential, and going through deep experientials and trainings and transforming them. We're also going to be getting into concepts like wealth creation, purpose, greatness, money, relationships, health. And if you're an entrepreneur, we're going to be spending about 20% of that event opening up my business playbook, the same strategies and tactics and techniques that we use to go from $0 to $30 million in an impact-driven business while spending 90% of my time doing what I love. There's nothing like the Powerful Living Experience. Inc. named it a top 3 must-attend personal development event for entrepreneurs and leaders, and I want to see you there. We've got some discounted tickets right now, plus some additional bonuses. Again, all the information is in the link in the show notes, or you can jump on over to powerfullivingexperience.com, get registered, and I will plan on seeing you there along with 1,000 other impact-driven, incredible members of our community for 3 days that you will never forget. And now, back to your regularly scheduled episode. So that's the first part of the trifecta. The second part is greatness. So greatness is achieved through the transformation of your challenges and the leveraging of your gifts towards the fulfillment of your full potential and purpose. So you can think of spiritual vision as the gym that you entered into. That's your curriculum. And greatness is the willingness to lift the weights. Greatness is the byproduct or the evidence of having trained. It's the muscle. And so this is very important to understand. I love studying great people because it helps me comprehend the architecture of greatness so that I can model other great people, but it also gives me context on my own life, because for so long I felt like the challenges that I had were reasons why I couldn't be great. They were also reasons why I couldn't be rich, reasons why I couldn't be successful. But really the challenges I had were the way to my success, my greatness, and my wealth. Now look at the story of Gandhi, and if you ever read his autobiography, he talks about having crippling anxiety as a child. He was almost incapacitated, but that drove him to find peace in meditation. He developed a mantra with one of the gurus that he studied with, Rama, 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 and he would say that over and over again, and it calmed his anxiety. But over time, he developed such a mindfulness that he says, in the quiet stillness of my mind is where I found a relationship with God. So he found a relationship with his spiritual vision, with a power greater than himself, in the stillness of his mind that he could only develop as a result of the gift of his anxiety. Right? So this is the spiritual vision, the terrain that he was operating in, but his willingness to do the work as it showed up was the lifting of the weights that helped him achieve his greatness. And the byproduct of that was extending who he had become into the world through the fulfillment of a need, which was a free and independent India. That was his full potential. You look at somebody like Beethoven. Beethoven was a kind of weird looking homunculus type of little boy with hairy hands and a hunched back, didn't fit in anywhere, had an alcoholic father, an abusive mother. But he found connection with others after having been estranged and ostracized for most of his childhood because of his musical gifts. So he started playing music, and people started to connect to him as a result of his musical acumen. And then, just as he's starting to hit his stride and hit his flow in life, he starts going deaf. And so now all of a sudden, this gift that he thought he had, he felt like was being taken away from him. And he literally goes out to a little chalet in Switzerland, or Vienna, I believe he was, and he's planning on killing himself. And he loses the last of his hearing. And he writes in his journals that as I lost the last of my capacity to hear, and I was finalizing my plan to end my life, in the quiet silence of my deafness, I heard the greatest symphonies that had never yet been played. His greatness was waiting for him right on the other side of his biggest challenge. So the spiritual vision is the curriculum that is unfolding for you. Your greatness is your willingness to work through the challenges to become who you decided you would be, to fulfill on the need that is out there and achieve your full potential. It's doing the work. And the problem is that we were never taught this. So most people are like, oh, my life's just shit. And life's unfair. And look at all those rich people. And they have all the luck. And I need 1 million Instagram followers. And why does nobody want to follow me? And all the other bullshit that we tell ourselves simply because we don't understand the structure. You came here for a reason. You've been set up with the basic skills, the natural talents, the character qualities and traits, and you're becoming something greater, who you chose to become through the overcoming of the challenges that you literally set in place for yourself as the resistance training. As you work that program, you expand, you become more, you become great. And you have to become great in order to be able to hold the responsibility. Could you imagine if I just gave you $1 billion today and 10 million Instagram followers and 7 businesses that you needed to run, or whatever else you think you want, and 3 yachts and a private jet and your dream home and all the other stuff? How would that work out for you today? Probably not very well. That would be like throwing you into a training session with the Navy SEALs with no preparation whatsoever. So God is good and God is great and God is preparing you for all that you can receive as a result of being willing to walk your walk. But we have to be willing to walk our walk. And the challenge is, because we don't understand this, most people just become entangled with these distractive forces and these bypassing mechanisms like social media, drugs, alcohol, worry, anxiety, and depression. But if you want this third piece, which is money, which everybody seems to be after, you have to have the first 2 pieces. You got to be clear that you're here operating in your spiritual vision. You came here for a reason, and you got to be willing to work the spiritual vision and become great so that you have the capacity to hold all that comes with it. Now, when we talk about money, we have to understand what money is. Money is energy. Now, when I first heard that, I was like, that's a bunch of bullshit. Like, look at my bank account, right? I need more energy then in my bank account because it's close to 0 or it's negative. But money is energy, and this is why it's important to understand. It's why it's called currency. Now think about it, right? Like the fiat currency that we have is this nation-printed money, right? It's called currency. It's like a current. It's like an electric current. It flows. Money flows. Money is energy. And actually, if you understand physics, you realize everything is energy. That, this table that I'm sitting at right now, while it seems very solid, is made up of molecules, which is made out of atoms, which is made out of neutrons and protons and electrons and then quarks and the smaller bits and pieces. And when you get down to it, it's 99% space. And even the stuff that seems like it's stuff is only stuff sometimes. It's this energy, kind of like the Matrix, this flowing zeros and ones. That's why Einstein said reality is an illusion, albeit a persistent one. Money is currency. Money is energy. So now, energy is the same as life or aliveness. Energy is the life force. Energy is soul. Energy is the one cosmic intelligence that is materializing and manifesting in all of the various material forms that we see. But it's all energy, and energy is always looking to grow and expand. Just like the universe is expanding, just like you're expanding as an expression of energy in your life, just as we see that the world is expanding with all the different inventions and technological innovations, money is energy looking to expand. And so if you want to allow money to flow through you, you need to become a reason for energy to expand. See, most people want to get out of financial insecurity. That's why they want money. Is that expansive? I want money so that I don't have debt. It's not expansive. But I desire to create things because that's what I came here to do. And I desire to become more. And I require energy for that expansion and becomingness. That is a mathematical logic for money to flow to you. I was speaking at one of my first events years ago, and I got off stage, and some young kid came up to me and was like, man, that talk just blew me away. And can I show you, I want to be a billionaire, right? He was like all excited and fired up for my talk. He's like, anything is possible. I create my own reality. Let's go. And I was like, hey, can I give you some feedback? He was like, sure. And I said, look, rather than want to become a billionaire, I would recommend that you want to be clear on what you came here to create that requires $1 billion. I was like, Elon Musk is not a billionaire because he wants to become a billionaire. I'm not saying he doesn't have the desire, but he must be a billionaire if he's going to do all the things he's setting out to do, his spiritual vision, right? Jeff Bezos has to become a billionaire. If his spiritual vision has been translated into Amazon and his vision for the world and what he came here to do in his full expression, he's got to have $1 billion flow to him to be able to do that. And I'm not saying Elon Musk doesn't have his flaws and Jeff Bezos has his flaws. Then we're not talking about spiritual perfection here. We're not even talking about nice people necessarily. Not that I have any reason to believe they're not nice people. I'm just saying we're not making a values judgment here. What we're saying is that when you are living in alignment with your spiritual vision and you're willing to do the work to expand and become great, by overcoming the inevitable challenges that face all of us, the byproduct of that is money flowing through you in order to help you fulfill on the creation of your spiritual vision. So I want you to think about this. Your capacity or your greatness, right? That's your muscle, is your ability to put the money to use. You have to get strong to put the money to use. Your spiritual vision or your purpose is the direction that the money goes. And as those two align, it unlocks the flow of money. Spiritual vision plus greatness equals money. Show me a person that's truly living powerfully and authentic in their life who desires money, who doesn't have it. You can't show me one. Now, show me a person who wants money but is broke and is not living according to their spiritual vision and their greatness. That's the vast majority of humanity. You know, we use this word for people who don't have money as broke. And it indicates that like something's broken. They're not broken. You're not broken. I wasn't broken when I didn't have any money, but there was something broke in the laws, in the system, right? I was looking for money to try to get me out of my fear of financial insecurity. I wasn't living my life in an expansive way and therefore calling forth money in order for me to accomplish the things that I came here to accomplish. It's different, right? I mean, they're in complete opposite directions. One of the biggest blocks that people have is they want money so they can no longer be afraid of not having it. I mean, think about how backwards that is. It makes perfect sense, but it's not how energy works. It's not how physics works. It's not how the universe works. So we got to stop wanting money to get out of financial insecurity and instead want or desire for clarity on your spiritual vision and know that it will come with trials as you build greatness, as you build muscle, but that is the conduit for money to flow. Does this make sense? You picking up what I'm laying down? Right? Who did you come here to be? Why did you come? And then work through the challenges to become that. Because when you stack these three concepts, spiritual vision, greatness, and money is inevitable. And by the way, so is a life of greatness, which is really the thing that we want to actually experience, right? Hopefully this gives you a much greater context on this three-headed hydra of purpose, greatness, and money. But it doesn't mean anything if you don't have a map. Like buried treasure, what good is it if you can't find it? And what I've been sharing with you is an overview of just day 2 of my 3-day live event, The Powerful Living Experience. Day 1, we look at your goals and your dreams, and we identify the limiting beliefs and the resistance, and you learn the tools to transform the resistance and rewire your brain. Day 2 is now about getting clear on what we came here to do, your purpose, your potential, and living into your greatness and designing a business and a life plan so that you can scale your mission and vision into the world and get rich doing it. And day 3 is about mastering the forces that govern creation so that you can intentionally create your reality and have a powerful living experience. And years ago, I was coaching and speaking to people, and they would say, hey, can you be great if you could just help me with this map? Like walk me through it. And so I did. That's how I started coaching. But as I started to grow and more people wanted to learn the keys, I couldn't give it to everybody. So I created the Powerful Living Experience Live. It's been named a top 3 must-attend personal development event for entrepreneurs by Inc. magazine, up there with Consciousness 2.0 and Tony Robbins' Date with Destiny. It's over 1,000 powerful, mission-driven high performers, leaders, and entrepreneurs who come together once a year to do the work that matters most, which is this mindset work in tandem with how do we, in an aligned way, grow our businesses and our mission, our impact in the world so we get the byproduct, which is the joy, the authority, the influence, and of course, the money. And I want to invite you to join me. So it's really, really simple. There is a link right below in my YouTube store if you're following along on YouTube. It's also in the show notes if you're listening on audio, or you can go to powerfullivingexperience.com. But hit the link below. Check out the event. It's coming up soon, but you got plenty of time to register. Right now, we're still in early bird. It's 80% off the ticket price. Plus, you buy one ticket, you get to bring a friend with you, and it comes with a handful of my bonus training. So you're not going to want to miss it. This is the way that I can support you most, not just understanding these concepts, but actually taking a look at your own life, building the map and working with my team and with myself and with 1,000 other people who are moving in the same direction to have a powerful living experience together. So I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I love sharing it with you. Again, hit that link below. Check out all the details. You're going to absolutely love it, and I cannot wait to see you at the live event. So thanks for being here with me, and I'll also see you in the next episode.